Have you ever wondered what would happen when a city goes out of control? When crime runs rampant, the law becomes useless, and thousands of people have no shelter? The once bustling streets are now shrouded in darkness, violence, looting, and endless encampments of the homeless. Some cities that were once symbols of the American dream are now collapsing faster than ever. And the scariest thing, if there are no strong measures, these cities could soon become ghost towns. Get ready, because in this video, we will explore 10 cities that are falling into chaos and the hidden reasons behind their collapse. Some statistics in this video might surprise you beyond belief. Stay tuned until the end to find out which city is sliding down the fastest and whether your city is on this list or not. New York, once a symbol of the American dream, where people came to seek opportunities, bright careers, and a slice of pizza for just 99 cents. But now, behind that glamorous facade lies a grim reality. More and more people are leaving, while crime, homelessness, and skyrocketing living costs are pushing the city into a nosedive. Nowadays, even taking the subway in New York has become a concern. Thefts, surprise attacks, and daylight robberies are no longer rare occurrences. Just in 2023, violent crime on the subway has increased by more than 20%, making many people feel unsafe while traveling. It is impossible not to mention another factor contributing to New York's turmoil: the bail reform policy. This policy allows many suspects of minor crimes to be released immediately without having to pay bail. This means that some people can rob a store in the morning. They are immediately released to have lunch as if nothing happened. The people of New York are increasingly losing faith in the legal system, while businesses are facing a continuous wave of thefts without effective measures to address them. According to the New York Post, in just 2023, 179,000 people have left the city, seeking places with lower taxes and more pleasant climates like Florida and Texas. But the main reason is not just taxes or weather. It's also the cost of living in this city becoming too expensive. New York has a cost of living 48.8% higher than the national average. The average house price reaches $480,000, and the rent for an apartment in Manhattan can easily go up to $3,500 a month. Or, as many joke, your soul too. If we also consider the second highest personal income tax rate in the US, 10.9%, it's not hard to understand why many people decide to leave in search of a more manageable life. The departures are not only coming from retirees or those in the middle class. More and more young people and professionals are leaving New York because they feel the city no longer offers the same opportunities for growth as before. Of course, New York still has things unmatched anywhere else: the world-class culture, the vibrant pace of life, and the best bagels on the planet. But the question is, are those things worth the trade-off? New York is at a crucial crossroads. Will this city find a way to retain its residents and revive its economy? Or will it continue to witness the exodus? The answer remains uncertain. San Francisco used to be the promised land for genius minds, where coders tirelessly created life-changing apps and turned million-dollar ideas into reality. But now, this city is like a faulty software that no one is willing to update. Now, if you stroll around downtown San Francisco, you might wonder, am I in a modern metropolis, or have I stumbled into a large-scale campsite? Hundreds of tents have sprung up like mushrooms, with homeless people stretching from Union Square to the Mission District. And don't be surprised if you come across piles of trash right next to a high-tech store. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, in 2023, this city had over 38,000 homeless people, meaning if you attend a concert here, there's a high chance that some of the audience around you are actually long-term camping right on the sidewalk. Why is the number of homeless people in this city so high? Life in this city is nothing short of a high-level financial test beyond imagination. The average house price has reached $1.2 million for a tiny apartment wedged between two skyscrapers. What about renting a house? $3,700 a month. The amount enough for you to rent a villa with a pool in Texas. Even a cup of coffee costs more than $7, nearly the amount of the minimum wage for 1 hour of work. With such astronomical figures, it's no wonder that many residents have to choose between paying rent or becoming the new neighbors of the tents on the street. But that's not all. San Francisco also has another special feature: a lenient attitude towards minor crimes. You can walk into a store, take something, and leave in peace. Many stores here don't even bother displaying their goods anymore, because they know that just a few minutes later, everything will vanish like magic. Of course, San Francisco still has its breathtaking views, advanced technology, and unique culture. But with this pace of reverse urbanization, many people are wondering, when will San Francisco fix its mistakes? It's hard to believe that there are already 3 cities from California on this list. Los Angeles, the city of stars, of blockbuster movies, of burning dreams. But wait, did you know that there is also an area here that is famous in a completely different way? Welcome to Skid Row, the homeless city right in the heart of LA. If Hollywood is where the stars shine, then Skid Row is where dreams are shattered. This area is dubbed the homeless capital of America, with thousands of tents, scattered trash, and interactions happening right in broad daylight. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, in 2023, Los Angeles had 75,000 homeless people, an increase of 10% in just 1 year. If this trend continues, Skid Row could become the 8th most populous district of LA, and it might even host its own city council. It's understandable that Los Angeles is becoming increasingly populated with homeless people. The housing prices here are so high that even supporting actors in Hollywood movies have to share a room with 5 people and a cat that doesn't pay rent. The average house price in the city has reached $910,000, so high that some joke only superheroes or criminals could afford it. What about rent? $2,800 a month. And that's just for a shoebox apartment, not to mention a spacious house. Even gas prices have gone up, almost $5 per gallon. Not to mention, if you get stuck in traffic for a bit, you could burn half a day's wages. With such a cost of living, it's not surprising that more and more people in LA can no longer afford to live. And when rent is out of reach, the streets become the most viable option. The Los Angeles government has spent billions of dollars to address the homelessness crisis. But the number of tents on the streets is growing faster than the number of housing units being built. Some new regulations even allow encampments to exist legally, turning many once bustling areas into ghost towns right in the heart of the city. Los Angeles remains the entertainment capital of the world, but at this rate, will the City of Angels soon become the tent city? What do you think? Is this just a difficult phase? Or is Los Angeles really on the verge of collapse? Chicago is building a rather unflattering reputation, a place where people love to leave. And the numbers don't lie. Just in 2023 alone, Illinois lost nearly 140,000 residents, a number enough to fill Soldier Field Stadium twice. What is causing Chicago residents to increasingly want to leave? According to Newsweek, this state is facing a perfect storm of economic issues, sky-high taxes, and a continuously declining population year after year. The 4.95% state income tax, combined with the highest property taxes in the United States, makes many families wonder, is Lincoln's land still worth living in? The city's finances are not only struggling, but are also on the brink of disaster. The unpaid pension debt has reached $140 billion US, like a gigantic credit card bill that no one can pay off. The consequences of this crisis are something that everyone has witnessed. Cutting public services, raising taxes, and they have to bear additional invisible costs. In other words, Chicago residents not only have to pay more, but they also receive less from their city and state. But that's not all. Chicago also faces a security crisis. There are areas where even the police have to think twice before stepping in. West Garfield Park, Englewood, Austin, once bustling neighborhoods. But now, just stepping outside to buy a loaf of bread can turn into a test of luck. Of course, the city has tried to control the situation with some of the strictest gun control laws in the United States. But the problem is, many criminals don't care about the law. With supplies from neighboring states, hot goods still flood the streets, turning Chicago into an endless action movie setting. Not everything in Chicago is bad. The city still has deep dish pizzas so delicious that they can make you forget about tax bills, rich history, iconic architecture, and the most passionate sports fans in America. But the big question remains, is this enough to compensate for an increasingly uncertain financial future? Chicago is at a crucial turning point. Can this city turn the tide, or will it continue to witness a massive wave of migration? What do you think? Is this a challenge to rise up, or the end of an icon? If you think The Walking Dead is just a sci-fi movie, then perhaps you haven't been to Kensington, Philadelphia. But brace yourself. No director, no cameras, and no editing scenes. Just people staggering, standing asleep right in the middle of the street, as if they just walked out of a zombie movie. Philadelphia was once the cradle of freedom, of glorious history, and of irresistible Philly cheesesteaks. But now, it is famous for something else. Open drug use, and streets that never sleep, of course, in the literal sense. This has earned Kensington an unwanted title: America's zombie capital. Why did everything turn out so badly? There are many reasons, but these are the main factors. The banned substance in Philadelphia is so cheap that it can be bought along with a cup of coffee, and it's not too difficult to buy. If you ask for directions in Kensington, the answer you might get is an invitation to make a purchase. If you think New York has Times Square, then Philadelphia also has an equally bustling area. Only instead of bright lights and art performances, it is filled with scenes of drug use and people floating in their own world. Of course, Pennsylvania remains a land of rich history and culture. Philadelphia has the Liberty Bell, a symbol of American democracy, while Pittsburgh was once the legendary center of steel production. But no matter how many glorious legacies there are, the people of Philly certainly do not want their city to be known for having more medical waste than sandwich shops. Can Philadelphia change, or will it continue to sink deeper into the crisis? Comment right below. New Orleans has lively jazz music, spicy gumbo, and grand Mardi Gras festivals. But even the most cheerful tunes cannot drown out the clattering sound of suitcases being rolled by those leaving the city. So, what is causing the Bayou Land to become increasingly sparsely populated? According to Newsweek, Louisiana is facing a difficult economic puzzle. The poverty rate here has reached 18.5%, alarmingly high compared to the national average of 11.5%. The average household income is only $53,571, significantly lower than the national average of $74,580. With wallets getting thinner, it's not surprising that many people have to move away in search of new horizons. But the economy is not the only issue. This city used to be a tourist paradise. But now even the locals have to think carefully before going out at night. The reason? The gangs here don't hesitate to settle scores with each other in broad daylight, while the justice system seems to be playing a game of kite flying with criminals. Many of those who were just arrested were released faster than food delivery. Meanwhile, the police force is becoming increasingly thin, and those who remain are stretched thin as they have to deal with the escalating crime situation. Nevertheless, New Orleans remains charming in its own way, beautiful, lively, and colorful. But if you plan to visit, remember to keep your wallet tight, stay away from unsafe streets, and most importantly, don't pick a fight with anyone. Will this city be able to find its former glory, or will it forever be an endless party with a risky dark side? Let's wait and see where fate will take New Orleans. If there is a place where kids have to practice their reflexes on the street faster than doing their homework, it is Baltimore, Maryland. This city is not only famous for its fresh seafood, but also has another less appealing specialty: a sky-high crime rate, always ranking among the top in the United States. In many places, parents worry that their children won't do their homework. What about in Baltimore? They worry if their child is quick enough to duck when they hear the unintended fireworks sound outside the classroom window. When the issues from the streets seep into the school, which is supposed to be a safe haven for the future generation, who wouldn't be anxious? Moreover, the police force is becoming increasingly sparse, while community support programs are not strong enough to turn the situation around. Education is also a concerning issue in this city. Many schools are underfunded, teachers do their best, but sometimes the spirit of dedication cannot withstand the temptations outside the school gates. Baltimore students not only need their studies, but also the resilience to overcome real-life challenges. This city still has potential, with its long history and resilient people. But if crime and violence are not controlled, will the children here still have the opportunity to dream of a bright future? Portland was once dubbed the Green City, where you could sip on high-quality coffee in a fresh atmosphere. But now, many Portland residents just wish they could sleep peacefully, without being woken up by arguments or police sirens blaring at 3 a.m. Wandering around Portland these days is no different from embarking on a survival adventure. And not everyone has the guts to sign up for this tour. Homeless encampments are popping up like mushrooms, stretching from parks to right in front of people's homes. If you ever thought camping in nature was a wonderful experience, then Portland has brought the camp right to your doorstep, whether you want it or not. Numbers don't lie. The crime rate in this city has increased by 16% in just 5 years and shows no signs of cooling down. Theft and break-ins have increased to the point where locking the door has become a ritual as important as brewing morning coffee. And small businesses? They are closing down en masse, because who wants to go shopping when they have to dodge waste from banned substances on the sidewalks? Part of the reason comes from the somewhat lax legal system of this city, with lenient policies to the extent that many minor offenders seem to be given a get-out-of-jail-free card. Meanwhile, the defund the police movement, cutting police budgets, has left law enforcement handcuffed, while criminals don't need a budget to operate. Nevertheless, Portland still has the potential for revival. But the big question is, can this city regain its lush green glory? Or will this ecological dream continue to be overshadowed by the darkness of crime and unrest? Let's wait and see. And Detroit used to be the heart of American industry, where cars rolled out into the world, carrying the American dream. But nowadays, if you drive through some areas in Detroit, you might mistake yourself for stepping into the setting of a post-apocalyptic movie. Just missing a few zombies. The once bustling streets are now left with empty buildings, overgrown grass on the sidewalks, and numerous abandoned houses. The state of abandonment in Detroit was so severe that at one point, the authorities had to sell houses for exactly $1. Cheaper than a cup of coffee. But even so, not everyone is keen on this golden opportunity. Detroit currently ranks among the cities with the highest poverty rates in the United States, and this has left many residents with no choice but to leave. There were nearly 2 million people living here in the 1950s, but now there are only about 600,000. The city is also famous for having one of the highest crime rates in the country, causing many residents to choose to leave for safety. So what has pushed Detroit into this situation? The city was once the pride of the automobile industry, providing hundreds of thousands of jobs with attractive incomes. But when this industry declined, Detroit lost a massive number of jobs, leading to a huge wave of migration. The government has tried to revive the economy with many renewal projects, but the harsh reality is that they have not been strong enough to retain the residents as jobs become increasingly scarce, crime rises, and the cycle of decline continues. But Detroit still has hope, as some central areas are gradually reviving with technology and creative projects. But the big question is, can Detroit find its former glory again, or will it continue to sink deeper into the darkness of oblivion? Seattle used to be one of the most livable cities in America, a paradise for tech enthusiasts, coffee lovers, and those who adore stunning natural landscapes. But now, large businesses are fleeing, residents feel unsafe, and the city center looks no different from a wasteland. Imagine you open a store, and every day someone walks in, takes something, and walks out as if they are shopping for free. That is the situation in Seattle. Walgreens, Starbucks, and even Amazon, companies that once proudly had their headquarters here, have closed numerous branches because they couldn't cope with this wave of theft. The problem is, many thefts and break-ins aren't even prosecuted if the value of the item is below a certain threshold. This inadvertently turns many stores into free gift centers for criminals. And when the defund the police movement took place, Seattle witnessed a wave of police resignations or transfers, leaving a city where crime was hardly controlled by anyone. But that's not all. Seattle is also facing a severe homelessness crisis. Tent camps are sprouting up like mushrooms after the rain, turning once bustling streets into makeshift camps. People are losing patience. Businesses are withdrawing. And without strong action, the city could lose its shine as a leading tech hub. These cities did not collapse naturally. This is the result of many years of failed policies, poor management, and indifference to the issues of crime and homelessness. Some places that were once symbols of the American dream have now been replaced by quiet streets at night, sprawling tent encampments, and rampant crime, taking the place of their once bustling vibrancy. Do you believe that the government can turn the situation around? Will these cities ever regain their former glory? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow to continue exploring the hottest stories about America today.